everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious spaghetti squash shrimp pesto dish. This is super easy, really low calorie, and really low carb for a perfect and easy dinner. First thing we're going to do is we're going to prep our spaghetti squash. Now I'm just going to be making one serving of this. I have half of a spaghetti squash that I've cut in half, and I'm going to scoop the inside out. Scooping out the inside of our spaghetti squash. We're just gonna set this aside. And onto a sheet pan, I'm gonna be using the rack. I do like to use the rack when I bake my spaghetti squash, but you don't have to use it if you don't have it. You could just put it straight onto the sheet pan. I'm gonna take some olive oil, just whatever your preference of olive oil is, and I'm gonna drizzle it all over the spaghetti squash. Take some salt and black pepper. And we're just gonna make sure that this is all evenly seasoned on our spaghetti squash. You're gonna take your spaghetti squash and face it down on the sheet pan. And now we're gonna bake it in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 minutes while we prep all the other ingredients. So for this dish, you can really use whichever your preference of protein is. I like to use either chicken or shrimp. Today I'm feeling in the mood for shrimp, so I just have a couple of shrimp here. It's about 1 cup of shrimp. I'm gonna season it with, again, some olive oil, a little bit of salt, and black pepper. And I'm also gonna add in some garlic. This is just some minced marinated garlic. You can also use fresh pressed garlic. I sometimes like to use the marinated one because it doesn't have that strong sharpness that garlic sometimes gives. And I'm just going to mix this all together and let this marinate. Just set it aside while we work on the pesto. I'm gonna show you how to make a really easy pesto. Now, I've made pesto before in a previous video, but I'm just gonna show it again. It's super, super easy. I'm gonna take some olive oil and I'm gonna throw it into the bottom of a food processor. I'm also gonna take some fresh Parmesan. You can also just get the already grated one or just buy Parmesan at the store, whatever your preference is. Gonna add some lemon juice, salt and black pepper, and about half a cup of pine nuts. Now, honestly, when I make pesto, I sort of eyeball it, I taste it, add a little bit more, a little less, depending on what it tastes like. But if you add about half a cup of Parmesan, half a cup of the pine nuts, and then salt and pepper to taste, as well as the lemon juice to taste, it'll be perfect every single time to your preference. To the food processor, I'm also gonna add in, of course, our basil. This is about 1 cup of basil. And I'm also gonna add some fresh parsley. Now, you can totally avoid the parsley. You don't have to add it if you don't want to, but sometimes I like the flavor that parsley gives in my pesto. Put the lid on of your food processor and turn it on to mix all the ingredients. Here is our freshly made pesto. We're gonna set this aside and start cooking our shrimp. I'm gonna be using a steel pan to cook my shrimp. My pan is nice and hot, and I'm gonna take my olive oil and drizzle it into the pan. And we're gonna throw in our shrimp. To my shrimp, I'm also gonna add in some chopped sun-dried tomatoes. This is gonna bring out so much flavor and add just a really nice touch to your dish. Flip our shrimp over, let it cook on the other side as well. If you're using a different kind of protein, like chicken, for example, you can use the same exact seasoning that you're using for the shrimp. It's really good for both the chicken and the shrimp. You also don't have to use a steel pan for this. I like the little char that's given to the shrimp when I cook it this way, which is why I prefer to use a steel pan. But really, it's just whatever your preference is, whatever you have at home. You could use an iron skillet, you could use the non-stick, whatever you want to use. I'm gonna turn the heat off because my spaghetti squash is ready. My shrimp is finishing cooking with the residual heat in the pan, and I have my spaghetti squash that I took out of the oven and let it cool for about 15-20 minutes, just so that I could actually touch it with my hand and it wasn't too hot. You're gonna take a fork and you're just going to scrape into the spaghetti squash to get the noodles out of the squash. Spaghetti squash is such a good low carb, low calorie alternative to pasta. Obviously, it's not gonna replace pasta, but it's a really, really good alternative if you're craving just something like that. I turned the stove back on. It is on low heat, and I'm gonna add the spaghetti squash into the pan. We're gonna combine all this delicious flavor together and let it cook for just about a minute. I'm now gonna add in about, let's say, half a cup of the pesto. We're gonna start with that and saute this and then see if we need to add more. Again, the pan is on low heat. We just want all of our flavors to blend together, warm up the pesto a little bit with the spaghetti squash and let it marinate into the shrimp. We're gonna let this cook for about a minute just to let everything heat up, and then it'll be ready to taste. And here we have our delicious pesto spaghetti squash pasta with shrimp. I cannot wait to dig in, guys. This was super easy, low calorie, low carb, just a really great meal that you can make right at home. Can't wait to dig into this. Cheers. Absolutely incredible flavor. If you're someone like me who's kind of so-so about spaghetti squash, but you're looking for a low-carb spaghetti alternative, this is super great. The pesto completely masks the flavor of the squash, and it just tastes incredible. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Also hit that notification bell to never miss a tasty upload. Till next time.